The stage lights are long gone, but the echoes of a fallen idol still haunt us. Once he stood untouchable, a voice that set thousands of hearts racing, his name blazing across festival banners. Now, he's a lifeless figure in a cold cell, taken out in a brutal flash inside one of Britain's darkest prisons. The news hit like a punch to the gut. No applause, no second chances, just dark silence of a life extinguished behind iron bars. How does a man who once owned the world end up here, broken and alone? He was a rock star, the kind who could make a crowd roar with a single chord. In the early 2000s, his band ruled the airwaves. Platinum albums stacked up, their songs carved into the souls of teenagers scrawling lyrics on their notebooks. He had it all: fame, money, the kind of charm that could turn strangers into worshippers. With a mic in hand, he was electric, a rebel with a smirk that cameras couldn't resist. Fans adored him, parents rolled their eyes, and the world seemed to bend to his rhythm. But beneath the sweat-soaked performances, something sinister was taking root, invisible to the screaming crowds. The truth, when it came, wasn't a slow unraveling. It was a wrecking ball. In 2013, the man who'd been a hero to millions stood in a courtroom, stripped of his glamour. The charges weren't just shocking, they were sickening. Crimes against children, acts so vile they left even seasoned journalists shaken. The judge's words burned into the public's mind. This wasn't just wrongdoing. It was a plunge into darkness. He showed no remorse, no flicker of humanity. 2 women, complicit in his horrors, were sentenced alongside him, their betrayal as mothers cutting even deeper. The world reeled. Fans tore down posters, radio stations erased his music, and his bandmates walked away, their brotherhood shattered. If this story grips you, please share it. Let it spark conversations about the shadows we don't always see. The truth matters, and so do the voices it protects. His sentence was 29 years, locked away in a place called Monster Mansion, a prison where the worst of the worst live out their days. It's a fortress of cold stone and colder truths, housing men whose names are synonymous with infamy. Fame didn't follow him here. Instead, it painted a target on his back. Guards called him distant, clinging to a faded image of stardom while threats circled like vultures. Violence wasn't new in those walls. He'd been attacked before, left bloodied but alive, a warning of what was to come. In a place like that, survival is never guaranteed. Then, one quiet morning, the end came fast. Guards rushed to his cell after a brutal assault. A makeshift blade, whispers say, had done its work. Medics tried, but there was no saving him. He was gone, his life snuffed out in the same place that held him captive. Police issued vague statements, promising investigations, but inside the prison, the story was different. This wasn't random, they murmured. The weight of his crimes had followed him, heavier than any chain. Was this the inevitable end for a man who'd crossed every line? The question lingers, sharp as the blade that took him. Could this have been stopped? Reports had warned of rising violence in the prison, of stretched-thin guards and shifting power among inmates. If a man this notorious couldn't be kept safe, what does that say about the system? Some call it justice, a brutal balance for the lives he scarred. Others see a failure, proof that even the condemned deserve protection. The debate rages, but one truth cuts through. The story isn't about him. It's about the children he harmed, the innocence he stole. The families left picking up pieces. Social media erupted when the news broke. Some typed good riddance, others wrestled with shock and betrayal. For those who'd once screamed his lyrics, it was a gut-wrenching loss, not of the man, but of the illusion they'd loved. Victims' advocates spoke up, redirecting the focus. This isn't about a faded star, they said. It's about the voiceless, the ones who suffered in silence while the world cheered a monster. Their words hit hard, forcing us to look beyond the headlines. If this story moves you, share it. Let it remind us to listen, to protect, to question what we idolize. The truth deserves to be heard. His life was a warning, a twisted tale of how charisma can mask evil. Fame gave him power, and he wielded it like a weapon, hiding his darkness behind a stage persona. For years, he thrived in the spotlight, untouchable, while the truth festered. His death feels like the final note of a tragic song, violent, sudden, and hauntingly quiet. Once, he lived for the roar of the crowd. Now, he's a name whispered in disgust, a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked adoration. For those who grew up with his music, the pain is complicated. It's not just about losing a hero. It's about realizing he was never one. His art doesn't erase his sins, and his end doesn't undo the damage. It's a reminder that idols are human, flawed, and sometimes monstrous. The silence he left behind is louder than any anthem he ever sang. So, what's the lesson here? That fame can blind us. That power can corrupt. That the truth, no matter how ugly, will always find a way out. Please, if this story resonates, share it with someone. Subscribe if you want to dive deeper into stories that challenge us to think. Let's keep asking the hard questions. Was this justice or a system failing everyone? You decide.